What is going on, guys? Johnny on the track back with another video. We have got Kansas this weekend. Should be a good one. If we remember earlier this season, Kansas, the closest finish in NASCAR Cup Series history between Chris Buescher and Kyle Larson. The announcers thought, it was Mike Joy at the time, thought that Buescher had it, but turned out that Kyle Larson ended up winning by 1/1000th of a second, I believe, was the final margin of victory. So should be a great race coming off a tough one, like just a tough race to watch. Pretty much if you watch the show and you place the Priest bet, the Briscoe bet, you probably broke about even, maybe netted down, maybe netted up, depending on what else you threw around. But the Priest top 10 was big. I called that one out. I knew Briscoe would have a good car, so that one was there for us as well. But just, yeah, I mean, Kyle Larson, hats off to him, dominated that race. Man, he is something special. He is fun to watch. So, well, as much as like the race wasn't fun to watch. When Larson like is in the zone and Cliff Daniels is in the zone and that team is kicking on all cylinders, man, they are a problem. And that's why Kyle Larson for me is in the championship four. He is not my championship pick. I will actually give that out on this show because it kind of goes into one of the reasons I'm picking a certain driver. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, just, it happens sometimes. We've had a good like late summer into early fall stretch, but that one just again broke even, so you can't complain. But I just wanted more out of the Bristol night race for sure. But we've got Kansas. I believe it's the Hollywood Casino 400. And if you're a friend of mine or you know me personally, maybe one of my good friends is watching this show, one of my favorite sayings is welcome to Hollywood. I just like to say that. Welcome to Hollywood. Yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of like people say welcome to paradise. I put my own spin on it. I say welcome to Hollywood. So what does that mean? I'm betting the house on this race. It just, that's what it means for me. I feel like it's good luck. I feel like it's a sign. Kansas, by the way, I think like the Hollywood Casino is like attached to Kansas Motor Speedway. So that is one of the tracks. It's either that or Dover that I'm going to next year. I have to figure out what makes the most sense for me. I'm just talking nonsense at this point. But yeah, Kansas or Dover are both of the tracks that I want to look at going to next year because they have a casino built or attached to both the tracks there. So that'll be fun, or that should be fun. We'll see which one I end up going to, but definitely on my bucket list to visit Kansas or Dover. Yeah, so where was I? I'm not really sure, but let's get into the betting card, I guess. Before we do that, real quick, NASCAR betting preview show. It's the partnership that we have. It's how you possibly might be listening to the podcast version of this show. And if you're not, if you're listening on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, search NASCAR betting preview show, hit that follow button in the top corner to listen to this version of the podcast, and also plenty of other podcasts from motorsports betting content creators like myself, getting you ready for the week that is Kansas. And of course, the live NASCAR betting preview show goes live on X or Twitter Wednesday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, it's a live show. They do a great job getting you prepped for what would be Kansas Speedway. Let's do it. First race in the round of 12 of the playoffs. Truex out, Burton out. Who else got eliminated? Ty Gibbs out. And I'm missing one more driver, but doesn't really matter because I don't think I'm betting on that driver. Suarez, Briscoe, Cindric, guys right on the cusp that were able to advance. So that was cool. I'm kind of rooting for Briscoe. That's kind of like the Cinderella story that I hope can kind of happen. But anywho, let's get into the card. So the first thing I want to say is I am fading Kyle Larson this weekend. And I know I just kind of, you know, praised him on how dominant he can be and how good that team can be. But here's the problem, guys. And actually, like since I've started filming this, the odds have shifted even more in the book's favor. So Kyle Larson right now is plus 330. When I started, it was plus 350. Look, if you want to bet a plus 300 money line, go bet the Panthers this week. Go bet the Panthers. Go bet Andy Dalton. I'm not doing it. I am not doing it. I'm not. I've said so many times on this show, I don't bet money line bets that are like below plus 450, plus 500, honestly, is more what I lean towards. There's just no reason to do that. Go bet a big underdog in the WNBA. Go bet the Panthers. I don't know. Go find another big underdog this week in the NFL and go do that. How about the Raiders? Check the Raiders out this week or next week, and you can hit that bet every single week. The reason we bet NASCAR is because you can hit a 10 to 1, a 12 to 1, a 50 to 1, a 100 to 1, which we hit with Austin Dillon earlier this year. That's the reason we bet NASCAR. I love NASCAR. If the odds were plus 300 for everybody to win, I would just watch and enjoy. But the fun about betting things like NASCAR and golf and other sport like individual sports with a lot of different people that can win is the money lines, right? Like that's why we do this. So I'm not touching Larson if he doesn't qualify well, if he looks like he doesn't have the car to beat, and he gets close to that 6 to 1 number, sure, then I'll touch Larson. But you're not getting me to touch it at plus 350, and you're definitely not getting me at plus 330. It's just not going to happen. You got to put a lot of money on that to make something to make it worthwhile, quite frankly. So yeah, again, I don't give out football bets, but here's my football bet. Go bet the Panthers. They're up against the Bengals. Andy Dalton revenge game. There's a plus 350 money line for you. Have fun. Um, Let's see where to next. How about Christopher Bell? Let's start there. 11 to 1. I feel like there's a lot of value on a guy like Christopher Bell. Sixth at Kansas earlier this year. He won Charlotte and the Coke 600. Yes, it was rain shortened, but he had the best car. When that team doesn't make mistakes, they're right there. They're a top 5, 3 to 5 car. And I told you I'd give out my championship bet. Christopher Bell is my championship bet. I think him and Reddick are due for a race win prior to the championship race. So to me, this lines up perfectly for a guy like Bell or a guy like Reddick. I know the next round with Vegas and Miami also line up good for those guys. But this race, this cookie cutter mile and a half does as well. So Bell 11 to 1. I think there's a ton of value on Christopher Bell at 11 to 1. I'll also throw in, if you bet the pole or enjoy betting the pole or want to bet the pole, I think Christopher Bell for the pole is a good one as well. I think he's going to have a really, really fast car. If he goes mistake free, he's going to be a top 5 guy. And can he pull it off? I think he can. I think he can. 23-11, I mentioned Reddick. I'm going to bet 23-11 winning team. I don't see the number here, but I think to get 2 drivers like a Reddick and like a Bubba Wallace, both in which have won at Kansas in the next gen era, I think it's going to be a great bet. Again, now, if that's closer to 4 to 1, then sure, I'll take something like that because you're getting 2 drivers. You're getting Reddick and you're getting Bubba Wallace, both who, again, have won at this race. And then you take it a step farther. Kurt Busch in a 23-11 car has won here. And Denny Hamlin, who owns 23-11, has also won here in the next gen era. Only time that somebody not associated with 23-11 has won this race was earlier this year. It was Kyle Larson, again, beating out Chris Buescher. But 23-11 winning team, I will be placing that bet. Byron to win, 14 to 1. Byron had an interesting first run here earlier in the spring. So he was the fastest car in practice. He had a great, what looked like long run car, but he scraped the wall in qualifying. It ruined his weekend. It absolutely ruined his weekend. That car just didn't have it after that. But he's been very, very good here at this track in his career. I think he's going to have a much better weekend. I think they're going to bring a similar setup to what they brought earlier this year. And he's gonna have a really good long run car. I'd watch Byron to be, a guy that if this stays green for a while, Byron could be the guy. If you look at the season for William Byron, the mile and a half tracks are where he shined, quite frankly. And just the way he's run recently, he kind of desperately needs a mile and a half. Like he just not has just not been that good. Had a decent start at Bristol and then kind of faded back. Had a terrible run at the Glen where he was the previous winner. Atlanta, he was okay, but yeah, just William Byron, like he needs a mile and a half track. I think this is a good spot to get Byron. I expect Byron to advance through to the next round, to the round of 8, and then I think that's probably where his season ends. But this is a much needed spot for Byron. I like him for a top 10 too, at minus 165. I think for a Hendrick Motorsports car to get right around like a minus 150 number, and I would shop around. I think you can find that again closer to minus 150 just with the recent kind of runs that Byron has had. I like that. I like a minus 150 for to sprinkle into it to a top 10 with some of these money lines with a Christopher Bell money line bet. I think there's still pretty good value on that, even being in the minus number. Um, what else do we have here? Bet of the year, possibly. Bet of the year, possibly. I don't know yet. But I'm definitely thinking about it. We did one bet of the year earlier this year. It cashed. It was AJ Allmendinger top 10 back at Sonoma. So a long, long time ago, it hit. So I get another one. Our second bet of the year. Bowman top 10. When Bowman has raced at Kansas in the next gen era, he hasn't finished outside the top 10. He hasn't done it. This is a plus money bet, ladies and gentlemen. It's at plus 150 right now. He is probably, you could argue, I'm going to get this up. He might be having the best stretch Oh, okay, maybe that's over the top. I was gonna say he might be having the best stretch of his career recently. Um, after he shut up a lot of the doubters because there was chatter around, hey, Bowman might be out if he doesn't perform in the playoffs. He has a fifth at Atlanta, a ninth at Bristol. He finished 18th at the Glen, but had a better car. So okay, I'm looking here, not the best stretch of his career. Actually, the best stretch of his career was earlier this year. Fifth at Dega, eighth at Dover, seventh at Kansas, eighth at Darlington, ninth at Charlotte. Why do I bring that up? Kansas, Darlington, Charlotte, all mile and a half, seventh, eighth, ninth. He's been terrific at the mile and a half. He's in a Hendrick Motorsports car. When you see a Hendrick Motorsports car plus money on a mile and a half track, you take that bet. It is a great bet. I'll say it one more time. He has not finished outside of the top 10 at Kansas in the next gen era. He's been good. He's been consistent. And mile and a halfs with Hendrick cars, I mean, you expect them to run top 10. So I really like that bet. Again, we'll see if it comes out to be a bet of the year. Not sure yet. Ross Chastain, one more top 10 plus 120. He's coming off back-to-back top 10s. He's got a fourth at Vegas, eighth at Charlotte, fifth at Darlington, two sevenths, and a fifth place at Kansas in the next gen era. He scored points in both the stages here earlier this season. Late race restart, late race caution kind of, mess things up for Ross. So he didn't get a top 10. But he's gonna have a top 10 car. He's been really, really good at this track in the next gen era, like I pointed out, two sevenths and a fifth, and just really good at the mile and a halves this year. That's really where he's shined. The short tracks have not been Ross's forte this year. He's been consistent, really everywhere we've went, but just like he's a consistent, like, I don't know, like a 10th place guy. That's what he's been. So I like that bet a lot as well for some good plus money on a top 10 for Ross Chastain. So those are the bets I'm going out with right now. Look, Denny Hamlin, he's plus 450. I don't know. Again, if that number shifts, maybe I'll bet Hamlin plus 700 for Reddick. I'm gonna bet the 23-11 winning team bet, so we'll see where that nets out. But Reddick is another guy you could possibly look at. I think he's gonna, to me, it's him or Bell are the two guys that I really like this weekend, along with Byron. Um, but I think there's decent value on Reddick. I just don't see it right now on Hamlin and Larson. I'm gonna need those numbers to shift before I touch those guys. So, um, Bowman top 10, Byron top 10, Chastain top 10, Byron to win, Christopher Bell to win, 23-11 to win. That is what I'm giving out right now. If you want to see the full card, Johnny on the Track on Action Network, John at JOTT_podcast on X. Want to know what you guys think? Put your bets and who your drivers you're watching in the comment section below. Give this video a like, goes a long way for the channel, and of course subscribe for more motorsports betting content. Thanks for watching, and as always, let's win some money.